What is the one thing I wish I had known when I started out in business development? For me, it is not to underestimate the importance of relationships and relationship building. On any given opportunity, you are working alongside creative, planning, strategy, design and production, research and analytics, as well as the comms team. So it's really important to nurture and respect the talent and capabilities of those around you as you come together for an opportunity.
There are actually two things I wish I'd known when I first started in business development. The first is don't try and be someone you're not. It's really easy to fall into the comparison trap and copy the people that you work with or emulate your peers. But you need to find your own voice. You need to find your own way of doing things. You're going to be much more successful and authentic if you can carve out your own way and follow your own path. Don't try and be someone you're not. The second thing is be kind to yourself. New business can be quite stressful and long hours and pressure, and it's really important that you look after yourself and recognise that you can't be always on your A game. There's going to be peaks and troughs, and when you do need to bring your A game, prepare. So make sure you learn your lines, you know the pitch brief inside out, but also that you do all the physical things such as sleep well, eat well, hydrate, and then afterwards take a little bit of time to reflect and to recover. Also to recharge your batteries and recharge your energy, because it won't be long before you need to go on to the next thing.
When I first started out in business development, the one thing I wish I'd known earlier is that we're in the business of creating relationships with people. It's only then, once you start to build a relationship and build that trust, you can really start to talk about business. And at MassiveMusic, we pride ourselves in the client relationships that we build and have, and the trust that we build over long periods of time.
What's the one thing you wish you'd known when you started out in BD? Definitely that it gets easier as time goes on and the doors that it will open. When I was younger, I never wanted to be a salesperson. My dad was a salesman and I thought, I'll never do that. And if you told me as a student that that's what I'd end up doing, I would have been pretty appalled. My first job was selling trailer space for a logistics company in Spain. And my job was essentially to melt the phone and work through a list of existing contacts. And after about a week, I thought, I can't do this. I feel like I'm selling my soul. But I had to, because there was no alternative employment at the time. And I remember my boss, my first sales mentor, saying to me, you'll get to the point where you start to love doing this. And sure enough, about a month later, I started to enjoy making those calls and building the relationships. And I think the doors it's opened for me, you know, if somebody had told me then 5 or 10 years down the line that I'd be pitching creative ideas to the CEO of Corona Beer in Mexico, or presenting in front of the New York skyline in front of a large group of people at Johnson & Johnson, or traveling to conferences in India, you know, I wouldn't have believed that. So that's been amazing. And I think it gets easier when you're doing more consultative selling rather than just flogging an undifferentiated offer. And you get to actually pitch proactive ideas to clients and make them dream a little bit. And that's where we can channel our inner Don Drapers.
The thing that I wish I'd been told before I started in a new business and growth role was that it's always on. You absolutely never ever stop. Whether that's looking for the next opportunity, whether that's maintaining a relationship with a client, whether it's bolstering and kind of motivating the team internally. So it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, it's for people with lots of energy and lots of ambition.
The last 12 months have been hugely disruptive, and there's been a huge amount of change in our industry, and even more so in pitching and prospecting, probably than any other area. The fact that we built our business on building personal connections, having one-to-one, face-to-face meetings, and that's all changed in an instant. and we've been subject to much more video conferencing than we've ever done before. But that said, I think the video conferencing has really allowed a raw honesty to come out from people where you're in your home, and actually the conversations that I've certainly had have been much more open, much more transparent and much more honest with prospects and people. And I'm hoping that's here to stay. But I also think a video conferencing will replace what we used to do on the phone. So I think we'll see less and less phone calls, and we'll see more and more video conferencing, and also less and less air travel and more video conference meetings.
In the last 12 months, there's been a number of issues, social, political, environmental, that has really prompted us to rethink how we live, how we work, how we buy. And I think it's made us think about what's important and what's not, and that's crossed over into the world of work. And it's apparent in conversations that I'm having with marketers. They're really rethinking about the role that they play, the legacy they can create, and the impact that they have. From a prospecting point of view, it's meant that conversations now are really at another level. I'm having conversations about how brands can communicate their social impact and diversity and inclusion and actions on climate change. This is going beyond just make me an ad campaign or a DM piece. This is actually around delivering brand promise and how brands can be ethical leaders. And it's an exciting opportunity for agencies to partner with brands to drive change that's going to have a huge impact on our communities and our planet. And what's exciting is that new business people are key in making that happen, because they're the ones having those conversations and getting in front of those brands on behalf of the agencies.
One thing that MassiveMusic have taken from this pandemic is the realization that people's consciousness and people's well-being is of the utmost importance. It's very easy to see somebody working for a company, or could be an employee of that company, and approach them on that level. But what the pandemic has taught us is that people are juggling their life, their work, challenges at home, and approaching people with the same approach that you would have done before that pandemic just won't land. So it's really about being conscious of people's well-being. Having said all of that, MassiveMusic did our research, and we really looked at the brands and the companies that were looking to use this time to invest in building their brand, and most specifically in building distinctive brand assets and sound. And once we had that knowledge and that research, we were able to approach people in a much more conscious way, and helping them and showing them how we can add value rather than just trying to sell them a product.
Since COVID, all agencies have had to change and adapt their new business approach, how they want to talk to clients and how they seek to prospect with clients. One of the key things for me is actually really making sure your shop front, your website works as hard for you as possible. It's now really the only single source of truth that prospects have in terms of finding out who you are, how you work, what services you offer. So really making sure that website demonstrates your culture, your people, which is ultimately what clients are buying into. So for me, that's really, really important. I think one of the great things to come from COVID is the real speed of how pitches are run now. So rather than things taking months and months, actually they can be condensed into a much shorter amount of time. So I'd love to see that continue once we return back to the office.
How has your company's approach to new business changed over the last year, and what should be here to stay? I think that some things have changed, some things haven't changed at all. Our approach before the pandemic, a lot was based on physical events that we would run and host ourselves. I did a lot of networking in the evenings through the trade bodies and intermediaries, which I hugely miss. But I think the principle behind having a strong angle, a strong hook, a differentiated point of view, and being able to help a client is still very much there and won't change. It's just the way we go about approaching clients that's changed. I think in the remote world, Zoom has allowed us to build closer relationships and be more personable with clients because we're in their living rooms and kitchens. You know, they have to open up, we have to open up because of that. And rather than clients coming into town and then dashing off for their next meeting, 5 minutes later, we're able to arrange calls and continue conversations over 2 or 3 calls rather than everything being intensified into one showman moment where you're pitching or you have an important key meeting. I think LinkedIn has become a real open forum and has replaced some of the physical networking that we've been missing. I think it's a great forum for commenting and sharing interesting content, and I think the clients are using it just as much as the agencies are using it. And I think it's also been an opportunity to really reflect, and with the extra time gained from no commuting, no back-to-back meetings, we've been able to get more and more of the wider team involved in business development initiatives, and it's always great to have extra pairs of eyes and extra brains on ideas for new business, and the guys from the other teams have been able to contribute some really strong ideas that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
How has our company's approach to new business changed over the last year, and what is here to stay? Agility has been absolutely key, as well as being very selective on the opportunities that we are pursuing. We all understand the level of investment and resource it takes to bring in a new client. So really making sure that the triage process right at the beginning, really understanding what it's going to take to win, is key.
My top tip for pitching is, as cliche as it sounds, I would really suggest for people to do your research. It's very easy to imagine any company that wants to work with you, but actually to do your research, build a business case, find the challenges that those companies have and provide a truthful and authentic solution to those challenges is really going to bide you well in the future.
So my top tips for new business prospecting and pitching, firstly starting with prospecting, absolutely stay true to the core of what your agency delivers and does. Don't step out of your comfort zone and stray into areas that you don't know. For pitching, for me, it's kind of 3 core things. Building a really strong relationship with the clients throughout the process really does help. Going over and above what the client expects, really make sure you delight and excite them. And then lastly, making sure that you really demonstrate that you're going to be a true partner for them and how you're going to make their life easier. That's what's going to make you stand out and help you win that pitch.
What is your top tip for new business prospecting or pitching? My top tip would be to be really nice to people and to always put yourselves in the shoes of whoever you're talking to. So whoever you're reaching out to, think if you were them, what would they want or need? What would help them get ahead? What bit of thinking would help them do something that their competitors are not doing, make them look good in front of their colleagues, make them look good in front of their bosses and get their promotions? I think every relationship is valuable. So somebody that you met at a conference 10 years ago whose job title might not have seemed that relevant or whose business might not have seemed that relevant at the time, keep in touch with them because you never know when they might turn around and help you or be a useful contact. So treat people the way you would want to be treated by them. Be polite, be kind to people, do them favors, don't expect returns on the favors immediately. Be sensitive to what they might already have done or what they might already be planning. Be memorable, but not just for the sake of being memorable in itself. And ultimately, a lot of business comes through referrals. So if you do a good job and you treat people well and you leave a good impression, ultimately they'll talk about you and business will come back through to you through word of mouth.
What is my top tip for new business? My top tip is people by people. We are an industry that is people first. Therefore, ensuring that the team that you're putting forward in front of the client is one that they can really imagine working with as an extension of their team.
My tip for new business prospecting and pitches is that it's okay not to know all the answers. I don't think anyone knows all the answers. We learn from experience, and it's okay to acknowledge our own limitations because then we can seek out the answers from others. Don't ever stop learning. Get a mentor if you don't have one. Surround yourself with people that know more than you, and continue to go to training and development sessions. It's really important that you continue to improve yourself and always look for more inspiration and knowledge from others, because it really will help you be the best you can be.
I have two top tips, I think. The first is really understand who your prospect is as a person, what they're interested in, what connects with them, and what are they looking for specifically. And then the second one is about their business. What is it their business really wants or really needs? Beyond the brief around advertising, what is it that's going to help the business really accelerate to the next level? And once you understand those two things, I think you're in a really good, strong position to move forward.